Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Learning to Abide in the Secret Place, or Abiding in the Secret Place if you're already there. I'm Dr. Natalie Lenore Blackman, and today we are going to continue the talk on the importance of time in the seed, time, and harvest. And we are going to talk about cultivating that time, or that cultivating that seed and tending to that seed and what it is that we want to produce so that we stay or learn to abide, or maybe even I should say grow in that secret place. And I'm going to tell you where this came from. This is a mandate I was given unknowingly. I spent my life as a child always wanting to visit heaven. After watching The Wizard of Oz, of all things, I used to want to go to sleep and have amazing dreams and end up in another world. But most importantly, I wanted to end up in heaven. And I would try all the time to prepare myself for sleep so I could dream and go into heaven. And it never happened. Never. Until January the 1st, 2012. And New Year's Day, I had just come back from Colorado. Didn't know I was moving back to Alabama. Yeah, God didn't want to tell me that one. And, but I, in my dream, which I was not prepared for, I was transported or translated into the kingdom. And as I saw the kingdom, I was standing in the yard in my dream, and I saw these huge mountains, and I'm looking at the mountains, and they're snow covered and they're gorgeous, and I'm just like, just feeling like I was at home in Colorado, which is where I still call my home. And nothing brings me more joy, and I even get teary-eyed, than looking at mountains. And I think it's because of the awe of the magnificence of the Father and the creation that He's made. And I'm in the dream, and I'm looking at these mountains, and it hits me that I'm not in Colorado. So it doesn't make sense. But I continue to look. And as I look, my dad appears on one side and my uncle appears on the other. And I hear this voice, and it says, "Do not look to your left or to your right, but keep your eyes only on me." Well, that's, in many verses in the Bible, but especially Joshua's, and as he crosses into the promised land, those were the words that God gave him. Do not look to your left or to your right, keep your eyes only on me. So as I do, this huge kingdom appears behind the mountains, and the kingdom becomes bigger than the mountains. And in an instant, which is how God operates in quantum, is it's so fast, in an instant I was there. But I wasn't like in this huge castle or building or anything like that I originally saw. I was in a lush green field, and there'll never be a way to describe it. I found out later that Psalm 23 is about the best way to describe it. I mean, of course I knew Psalm 23, but I mean, when I read it later on, it hit me that that's where God had put me, because I was in a lush green pasture beside still waters. And so the waters were indescribable. I mean, the colors were indescribable. And now I've watched a million people's stories that have been to heaven, and they're very similar to mine. And the good news is I didn't have to die to go there. I mean, I was just able to translate there in a dream. But I got to visit, And it wasn't long enough. I wanted to go back and spend the rest of my life there. But as I was there, and as I was in the green pasture, and as I was by the still waters, there was an indescribable, there's no way, there's no words, no pictures, no paintings to describe the joy, the peace, the acceptance, the lack of needing anything. You need nothing. There's nothing. You are a being in your state of being, which is, if you've ever studied other religions, like, meditation and Buddhism, and the goal is to always to get into this place of being in the moment, in the now, needing nothing, wanting nothing, complete, perfect state of creation. And the only place you can to master that is in heaven. Okay, there is. I don't care how hard you work here, and we are going to work here to bring heaven to earth. We will. But there is nothing that compares to it. And that was a dream that was meant for many reasons. God showed me many things, but the mandate after that was the Lord's Prayer, which is, my kingdom come, my will be done on this earth, the same that it is in heaven. I mean, think about that. That was the Lord's Prayer. That's all he's asking, is for us to want to see his kingdom on this earth, okay? And in order to fulfill that mandate, we have to know what that is, right? You have to know what is in heaven. And so it was such a gift that I was able to go and experience it, so I could share it with others. And I share it on an individual basis with people when the Lord tells me to, but I've never shared it at this level. And that's why this is an amateur level, because I've just dragged my feet. I haven't wanted to do this yet. But I think it's weighty. It's very heavy when you really get down to it. But that was the secret place, okay? So the secret place is peace, joy, long-suffering, self-control, contentment, needing nothing. The Bible actually uses the word, says perfect and entire, wanting nothing. And yet in that space, it's not to be a selfish space. That space is so that we can give out to others, okay? So it's not about, oh, I just want to get to that space and just stay there and nobody's gonna bother me. That's not what it's about. It's about establishing that in the atmosphere, in the earth realm, okay? But we can't do that if we don't do it on an individual level. And so what the Father's been teaching me these last 10 years is that we are called, each one of us, like I talked about with the time, the seed, the time, and the harvest. We are called, each one of us, to bring that kingdom into our bodies, into our home, into our workplace, into our family. We have an individual mandate to bring the kingdom, which is heaven, to earth. So you have to ask yourself, okay, so if we want to abide in the secret place, what is in the secret place, right? is just what I talked about. And I'm going to show you here on a quantum scale. This is one of my favorite quantum scales. I don't think you're going to be able to see it very good. Can you see that? Okay. I'm going to move it up a little bit closer. Yep. Amateur hour on my YouTube sessions. But if you look up here, this is as close to the frequencies of heaven as we can get, okay? And that's appreciation, freedom, joy, knowledge, love, and then we have hope, optimism, belief and faith. Those are a little bit lower, okay? But again, this wasn't written by God. this was written by man and ego, and we'll get into that later. But this was based on measured frequencies, okay? And they actually have peace and joy on this one, right about right here. But, and then this top one is God consciousness. A little bit different than what we're going to be talking about, but experiencing heaven, the fruits of the Spirit are all in one, and they would be in the very top, the highest frequencies there. So the fruits of the Spirit is the atmosphere of heaven. So if we're going to abide in the secret place, we have to grow the fruits of the Spirit, okay? And in order to grow the fruits of the Spirit, we have to cultivate and take care of the soil in the time between the seed and the planting and the harvest. And I will talk a little bit more about that in the next session.